in Worcester, and we had a couple of those showers earlier today, more clouds. Now we are reverting back, and it's going to be pretty quiet for the rest of tonight and into tomorrow for election day. So no excuse, weather's not the reason to not get to the polls tomorrow. 53 degrees for Cleveland, 52 in Akron. The winds have certainly been howling today, and it is still gusty. We have gusts right now, 25, 30 mile per hour winds. Cleveland, Mentor closest to that 30 mile per hour mark, and this is going to continue to be a factor for tonight, but notice as we move into tomorrow, it starts to decrease a little bit. Honestly, it'll still be a little bit breezy though in the afternoon for your Tuesday. So here are a couple of those showers, very light, but they were there. Quick little front that pushed through that kicked up our winds as well. Small craft advisory in effect. It's going to be choppy on Lake Erie, waves of 2 to 5 feet. That's in effect until 4 a.m. for tonight. Radar shows us nothing right now, so we're a lot quieter than we were just a couple of hours ago. Temperatures very uniform across Northeast Ohio. We've got lots of 50s, low 50s at that. 53 is a very common number that I'm seeing on the board right now. 55 for Sandusky, Norwalk, and we've got 55 down in New Philadelphia. Fast forward about 12 hours from now, these are your morning temperatures. It is going to be cold, some of us freezing. Temperatures in the 30s, mid and low 30s across the area. Kind of the name of the game at this point. For tomorrow, as I mentioned, we're looking good. 56 degrees, mixture of sun and clouds. It'll be cool, it'll be cold out the door, cool all day, but seasonably so. We have this on-off pattern. So today we were on with the rain chance, then tomorrow we're off. Then Wednesday we have a 20% chance. So while it's on, it's pretty isolated. Goes back off Thursday, and then we start to see some better chances for precipitation. I'm going to use that word because we will have some rain, and the models continue to show some flakage happening. So what we're seeing right now, we have the cold front that pushed through today. That was the first of a series here. We have high pressure building in. I want you to look at where the next system is. It's all the way out into the Pacific. So when we're talking about the threat or possibility of flakes, and it's not until next weekend, next week, those systems we can't even see yet. So it's really important to take it with a grain of salt. There's this isolated chance for rain on Wednesday, then we bring in high pressure. Here's the next front. Again, it's like a parade. Cold front, cold front, cold front. I do feel pretty confident about our rain chances on Friday. It looks very likely. That cold front will certainly usher in some colder temperatures. It does look like
beautiful behind you.
Yeah, beautiful sunset Edgewater. You notice it's a bit choppy here. We do have a small craft advisory. It's been breezy all day, and that affects the lake. Waves of about 2 to 5 feet. Of course, the sun is going down now. It's always one of those wild things because driving into work a little bit later, the sun was already starting to get into my eyes coming from the east side. So always be aware of that now, that the sun glare is going to be a little bit earlier. It's going to be chilly for tonight. Temperatures falling into the 30s for a lot of us. And you might have seen some things on social media. There is an opportunity for a couple of snow showers. Snoway. Let's not get too excited yet. We'll talk about it coming up. Of at least, I believe it is getting at least an inch of snow, which, I mean, that's probably not going to be this narrow, but we're still several days out. We're looking at right now, the sun is set, the icons need to catch up here, but it's mostly clear across Northeast Ohio. Temperatures in the 50s. 53 degrees right now in Cleveland, 52 for Akron, Canton, 50 for Ashtabula, 55 as we look down to New Philadelphia. And we do have these strong wind gusts. It has been another breezy day. Gusts here for Cleveland, Mentor, and Ashtabula over 30 miles per hour. It backs off a touch when you look farther to the south here. Ravenna, Akron, more like a 15 to 20 mile per hour. So they're certainly stronger the more north that you live. They are expected to subside a bit as we move into tomorrow, but tomorrow will be breezy as well, but it will be a westerly wind, more like 10 to 15 miles per hour, gusts of 20 to 25. So it will back off a little bit. And we can thank that increase in the winds to a front that pushed through. It brought the extra clouds, a couple of very light showers. They only lasted for a few hours, and now this is what our radar looks like. Small craft advisory in effect until early on Tuesday, thanks to those breezy winds that we are dealing with. It's responding out on the water, and it's a bit choppy. We should see clear skies throughout the rest of tonight. Not as windy, but it will be clear and cold. Temperatures for downtown Cleveland into the mid and upper 30s, low 40s as you get closer to Mentor and Ashtabula. Most folks inland, though, mid 30s expected there. 32 to about 36 degrees. So it'll be a frigid start to election day. Jackets, I think, are a good idea, especially as we don't warm that much. Mid-50s, and as I mentioned, we'll have that westerly wind, about 10 to 15 miles per hour. Following this quick moving cold front, high pressure builds back in. Then we have another system hot on its tail. Notice how far away that next system is. It hasn't even made it to the U.S. yet. So when we're talking about that future cast forecast, we are looking at storms that are still forming thousands of miles away in the Pacific. It does look like we'll get that next front pretty fast moving through the area. A couple of showers possible on Wednesday. Tomorrow's dry. Wednesday we bring in that chance. Thursday's dry. Now I am confident about Friday. It does look like we'll have rain that is widespread, that could be heavy at times. The moon is going to be at its closest point to Earth this week, so it becomes full on the 5th. However, when it comes to any full moon, whether it's a supermoon or not, it will appear full 1 to 2, maybe even 3 days around that, because I mean the full moon is an exact moment, so it'll look pretty cool out there for the next couple of nights. And we have clear skies all across Northeast Ohio. Icons caught up because the last time I used this graphic, they still had sun icons. Now that the sun goes down, it's already been down for an hour at this point, so dark already. Temperatures in the 50s, 48 for Ashtabula, and we have had some gusty winds today. And a little bit of everything, right? It started off decent, then we got cloudy and a little rainy, and then the winds picked up. Then we ended the day on a nice note, but it is still very blustery, especially along the lakeshore where gusts are over 25 miles per hour. As we move into tonight, notice those winds start to subside. However, it's still going to be breezy tomorrow, just not as windy as it was today. We have right now the look at the radar from earlier today. I mean, those showers were incredibly light, but they were present, made it look a little bit gloomy out there. Here's the updated Power 5 at 6:17 on your Monday. It's all clear. The breeze is really the biggest issue. It's going to be cold tonight. Colder inland, probably upper 30s, low 40s for Cleveland, but farther inland, we're looking at mid-low 30s. Menor, Ashtabula staying in the 40s. Elsewhere, plan for about 33 to 38 degrees. And with those breezy winds, you will certainly notice a bit of a chill factor happening as we move into tonight. Here we are at 11:30. We're seeing wind chills overnight into the 20s. It'll certainly have a little bit of a bite to it to start off election day. Jackets are a good idea, but we are going to have a nice day. It's still breezy, as I mentioned, winds of the 10 to 15 mile per hour variety versus what we had today. And we are going to have a mixture of sun and clouds. No rain chances tomorrow. It's an on-off pattern for a couple of days. So today we're on, tomorrow we're off. Wednesday, we bring in our next chance. Notice here that our next system all the way out in the Pacific, that's Wednesday's system. So when we're talking about the threat for snow, when we get into this coming Friday, weekend, next week, those systems are very far in the distance. We don't see them yet. So it's important to take all of that with a grain of salt. We're looking at stuff very far in the future. So notice here we get our next system. Our next on chance is Wednesday. Isolated showers are possible. Here comes our best chance of the week. And this has been pretty consistent dating back to last week. It was showing these widespread showers, heavy at times for Friday. And you notice that as we bring in that cold front, that's when temperatures are going to take a dive. It does look like colder air will infiltrate in. That could set out for about 2 hours, and temperatures are going to slip into the 30s for a lot of us. Currently seeing 48 for Akron, Canton, 50 for Lorain, 51 for New Philadelphia, and you can see those current observations coming in that we have mostly clear skies. Now, it has been a breezy day, especially along our lakeshore communities. That continues to be true right now, where we have gusts over 25 miles per hour there. More like 15 to 20 away from the lakeshore, but the breeze is certainly something you're noticing. Those winds are expected to subside tonight into tomorrow, but winds are a factor as we move throughout this week. And truth be told, once we get into the winter season, it's almost always a factor, right? So it is going to be kind of one of those things we need to monitor throughout the course of this week. Looks like it subsides for Election Day, ramps back up on Wednesday because we actually have a parade of cold fronts. First cold front pushed through today brought us some minuscule showers. They were very light, made it a little cloudy, and of course it kicked up our winds. Small craft advisory in effect until 4 a.m. tomorrow morning thanks to those breezy winds, so it's definitely choppy out on Lake Erie. Next few hours, clear skies, not as windy overnight, but it will be cold. Colder inland too. Cleveland, Menor, Ashtabula. If you live close to the lake, you're more like the upper 30s to even mid 40s. Away from the lakeshore, even just a couple of miles, mid and low 30s expected, about 33 to 38 degrees expected for most of us for tonight. Election Day's forecast looks fantastic. Truthfully, the weather's not going to be the problem. We are going, for you to get to the polls, there's always going to be potential lines and things like that, but the weather, looking good. Mixture of sun and clouds. We'll have cool temperatures out the door, but then we'll be seasonable. Honestly, it is November, so temperatures into about the middle 50s. And speaking of November, the biggest and brightest supermoon of the year happens in November. On the 5th is when we have the full moon. It can appear full for 1 to 3 days, so it's technically on the 5th, and that's when we do have our next rain chance, but you should be able to get a glimpse of that biggest and brightest supermoon of the year. High pressure for Election Day. This is our next system. So when we're talking about the threat for snow, I want to be pretty clear here that when we're looking at computer models and it's several days out, it is usually systems that are way out into the Pacific or haven't even developed yet. So we have this first cold front that brings us a few showers, most likely Wednesday afternoon, Wednesday evening. Then we'll bring in our best chance of rain for the week. That I'm pretty confident on.